There's nothing more exhilarating than pointing out the shortcomings of others, is there?
This video is made possible due to those who support me on Patreon, and I'd like to give a big shout out to patrons Conrad Truitt, Dan Ray, Flake, Joseph Abrams, Kyle Kramer, Mariah, Patrick Smith, and Stephen Dillon. Thank you all for your support. The Green Knight tells the story of Gaiwan, the roguish and hedonistic nephew of King Arthur. On Christmas Day, a mysterious figure known as the Green Knight travels to the kingdom of Camelot and offers his axe to any soul able to strike a blow on him, with the caveat that they must receive the same blow in 1 year's time. Seeking glory, Gaiwan takes him up on his challenge, but is surprised when the Green Knight merely bows and offers his neck, to which Gaiwan responds by decapitating him. However, the Green Knight returns to life and departs from the castle. A year later, Gaiwan is pressured by his uncle to keep his end of the bargain, and is sent on a journey to travel to the Green Knight, fulfill his oath, and prove he is a man of honor. Along the way, Gaiwan's virtue is tested via a series of trials and tribulations, most of which he fails spectacularly, revealing him as not half the man he desires to be. Eventually, Gaiwan arrives at the domain of the Green Knight, who prepares to conclude their game, but Gaiwan flees rather than hold true to his end of the bargain. We then bear witness to the events upon Gaiwan's return to Camelot. He is crowned king following the death of his uncle, fathers a son with a common woman, but steals the child away from her, said child later dying in battle. Ultimately, Gaiwan's legacy ends with his kingdom in ruins and his reign besmirched, detested by his own subjects. We then cut back to Gaiwan at the chapel, the preceding sequence being either a prophetic vision or Gaiwan playing out his own future in his mind. Upon seeing what will come to pass should he continue on this path, Gaiwan accepts his death with resolve. The Green Knight lowers his axe and kneels, commending Gaiwan on his bravery before sliding his finger across his throat and stating,
"Off with your head,"
followed by the film coming to an abrupt end. The film's ambiguous conclusion led to quite the hubbub of online discourse. Does the Green Knight spare Gaiwan or hold him to his oath? Despite a plethora of debate, the answer, clearly, cannot possibly be known. This video is not meant to offer said answer, but rather to highlight its irrelevance, and how the Green Knight is a fantastic example of story taking precedence over plot, a rare marvel in contemporary mainstream cinema. The differentiation between story and plot has been discussed by many over the years, and is described differently depending on who you ask. As for my own interpretation, I consider plot to be in reference to the specific details of a given film, the identity of the players, elements of the world and setting, the twists and turns of the unfolding of events, whereas story is in reference to the film's larger thematic contentions, often demonstrated via the change our protagonist undergoes. The plot of The Godfather concerns the organized crime families of New York City struggling for power, but tells the story of a good man being consumed by evil and falling to corruption. The plot of Oldboy consists of a twisted revenge scheme and a disturbingly unforgettable conclusion. Yet the story is that of a man whose soul has become consumed by vengeance and must overcome his bloodlust before it leads him to ruin. The plot of The Last of Us chronicles the events in regard to an apocalyptic outbreak and a desperate search for salvation, but is the story of a man who had given up on hope, once again finding something to fight for. Perhaps a better way to illustrate the difference between story and plot is to demonstrate how wildly disparate plots can ostensibly tell the same story. The plot of the Matrix saga involves a simulated reality and a war between man and machine. The Harry Potter series features a plot involving witchcraft and wizardry, a tyrant being contested by those sworn to protect a world from his wrath. The plot of the Star Wars trilogy consists of an intergalactic struggle for power, a rebellion against an iron-fisted empire, rogue computer programs and gravity-defying martial arts versus fantastical creatures and magical spells versus intergalactic space travel and lightsaber duels. But despite the wildly disparate details of their plots, they all tell the story of a nobody who is told they are one hell of a somebody who must conquer doubt and show courage in the face of death. The way I see it, a film's plot is more or less irrelevant, merely the vehicle meant to facilitate the story and deliver it to its destination. Now that is not to say that a well-constructed plot is not important. If the plot is the vehicle meant to carry the story, how successful will it be in doing so if it has a flat tire or two? But in my eyes, story must always be paramount, as it is story that results in certain films being remembered fondly and forever, even having the ability to have an impact on your life, while others fade into irrelevance. If you were to ask me the biggest reason many films made today lack resonance and fail to make an emotional impact, it would be that most studios put emphasis on plot over story. It's all about the concept, the hook, the market potential of a particular IP. The Transformers films may have made a shit ton of money at the box office, as who wouldn't get a kick out of a plot consisting of robots from outer space creating a massive spectacle as they kick the living shit out of each other. But what story is it trying to tell? What, if anything, has been said by the film's conclusion? It may be a fun ride, but will most likely fade from your memory, the details of the plot becoming hazy and inconsequential. And once they do, what's left? It might draw audiences into the theater and stuff the pockets of the bigwigs, but it will never have the emotional resonance that stories have the potential to inspire. And this is what makes The Green Knight such a refreshing experience. The plot consists of a pact with a supernatural earthly warrior, a run-in with a posse of devious scavengers, an unsettling encounter with a ghostly maiden, a mysterious lord and his seductive lady, and a strangely out-of-place homage to Attack on Titan for whatever reason. But putting the amazing imagery and fantastical happenings aside, the film is the story of a man who desires honor. Not merely to appear to others as virtuous or noble, but to become a true knight. While Gaiwan originally challenges the Green Knight to gain prominence and respect among the court and the people of Camelot, come the end of the film, when there is no one around to bear witness to his actions, he is revealed as cowardly, not as honorable as he wants others to perceive him to be. But when he sees what his life will become, he decides that a death with honor is better than a life of shame. And it is at this point where our story has come to an end, where our protagonist has learned the error of his ways, and the change within him has come to fruition. He has truly become the honorable man he wished to be. Thus, the ultimate outcome of the plot, whether Gaiwan is spared and returns to Camelot or dies in the chapel, is ultimately irrelevant. However, this was not director David Lowery's initial vision. Without explicitly stating it, Lowery has heavily implied that he originally wanted to end the film with Gaiwan's beheading, but eventually settled on the ambiguous conclusion. His reasoning being that ending the film with Gaiwan's death would leave the audience with a less thoughtful impression of his journey. The omission of Gaiwan's fate is meant to drive home the fact that it truly doesn't matter. This is a take I wholeheartedly agree with, and I would even go so far as to argue that either outcome being explicitly shown would have undermined the thematic contentions of the story itself. Had Gaiwan been spared, the message of the story may have been seen by some to imply that honor and virtue is always rewarded, a rather foolishly optimistic view of the world if you ask me. Had he been killed, it may have left a sour taste in the viewer's mouth, Gaiwan's character development being overshadowed by his journey's apparent futility. In my eyes, the ambiguous ending prompts the audience to contemplate the contrast between the man Gaiwan was at the beginning of his quest and the man he is at the end, rather than just whether or not he gets the Marie Antoinette treatment. The film contends that one who only demonstrates courage and honor in order to curry favor from others is no true knight. That sincere virtue is expressed by staying true to oneself regardless of any potential reward or punishment. Whether one believes Gaiwan should be considered redeemed of his past debauchery and cowardice or not is inconsequential. Gaiwan has overcome the need to be perceived by others in a certain light. He makes his final decision not for glory or praise, but to stay true to the ideals of the man he sought to be, the honor of the brave knight he has become. As a writer, it would be foolishly optimistic of me to say that a captivating hook or original angle for your script or novel isn't an important aspect of getting that little bitch noticed. But I fear that it is this aspect of the industry that has led to many films today being nothing more than fun yet fleeting experiences. I would be willing to bet any one of you writers watching didn't simply pick up your pen because you sought to make fat stacks or rub shoulders with pretentious Hollywood insiders. Whether it was instilling in you that friendship knows no bounds, or that we are not defined by the roles others assign us to, or making you ponder the darkness of the human heart, or what it even means to be human at all. It was a particular story, not plot, that instilled within you the desire to create something that inspires others, just as you were inspired yourself. The Green Knight gives me hope that the films that gave me a passion for storytelling are not remnants of a bygone era, but rather are just waiting to be brought to life.